Hi, guys. This is Coach JP, host of Coach JP Podcast again. It's great to have you back for another insightful session. Today, we're diving into workshop number three as part of our learning and development segment. The topic toxic work environment, an issue that affects many professionals and organizations worldwide. Together, we will explore awareness, reflection, and positive action in response to harmful work environments. So let's jump right in. Before moving any further, I would like to share a healthy reminder to all of you guys so you can keep in mind, okay? So, in a toxic work environment, especially in global companies that promote cultural values but in reality may not practice them at all or may simulate doing so, it is crucial for employees to take strategic steps to embrace and adapt to their surroundings, while also protecting their well being and personal values. Often, these companies may say one thing and do another. After all, they don't practice what they preach. Remember, you are valued both as a professional and a human being as well. So never settle in a toxic work environment. You hold the power to prioritize your well being. Surround yourself with people who share your own values and seek workplaces that nurture your growth and allow you to thrive. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you all so you can keep that in mind. Okay, so let's review a little bit about the introduction of the topic. I'm thrilled to have you here. Whether you're joining me live or on replayed, we're diving into something that can profoundly impact not just your career, but your emotional, spiritual, and professional health. Throughout history, these issues have become more prevalent than we may realize. It is crucial not only to recognize the signs, but also to take proactive steps to protect ourselves. This is your moment for awareness, reflection, and empowerment. Before diving in, I want to take a moment to ask to hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and share this content with your friends and family. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us grow this community that is not just about professional growth, but personal growth too. So let's continue this journey together. Here's a quick overview of today's agenda. At number one, we have a welcome and awareness raising. So when we talked about toxic work environments, this is a trend. This is something that have become more common on a day-to-day basis, and we most address their impact on our mental, emotional, and professional well-being. And number two, we have workshop key objectives. We will explore the damage of toxic workplaces and discuss strategies for positive change, leaving you with clarity and practical tools for peace of mind. Number three, an icebreaker. So we're going to complete an activity about awareness through reflection. This activity will not just be about reliving negatively, it'll be about realizing you're not isolated in these feelings. By raising awareness, we take the first step toward creating a healthier workplace. Number four, exploring psychological, professional, and spiritual damage in toxic work environments. Wow, that's so deep. Toxic work environments drain motivation and challenge your purpose in life and professionally speaking. So to date, we will explore the psychological, professional, and spiritual harm they cause and why healing these wounds is crucial. Number five, learning activity. So we cannot have a workshop without a learning activity. So this is not the exception. So the activity is called guided group reflection. In this activity, we will do an introspective on how toxic work environments have impacted our own lives and what steps can we take to protect ourselves. Number six, a personal self-reflection. This space will be used so we can connect with our own feelings and experiences. So we have to ask ourselves, what is my body and my mind telling me right now? How can I begin to take small, meaningful steps to heal and protect myself moving forward? And last but not least, at number 7, we're going to be covering or we're going to be sharing a motivational message as a closing and an action plan so we can put into practice. So we will share an inspirational message and establish this action plan to identify an immediate action and a long-term strategy and reflection too. Okay, so let's share a little bit about the key objectives too. So the key objectives of this workshop are: number 1, recognize the characteristics of a toxic work environment and its effects on holistic well-being. Number 2, encourage self-reflection and the pursuit of solutions to workplace toxicity. And number 3, inspired personal and professional empowerment to protect mental, spiritual, and professional health. Okay, sounds interesting, right? So I hope you're liking it so far. So before we move on, if you have a comment, if you have something to say, please leave your comment below. Okay, so let's complete this icebreaker together. Okay, so before we dive into the workshop's topic or today's topic, let's pause for a quick reflection. I want you to think back to a time when you felt drained or demotivated at work. Maybe it was because of a manager's attitude, an unrealistic warning, or even a lingering sense of something just was not going right. Got it? So now imagine you're not alone. Imagine that what you've experienced is something others in this very session have faced too. Here's the big question. What words would you use to describe how that moment made you feel? Take a second to jot it down and say it out loud if you're in a safe place. Please share your experience by leaving a comment below. So let's unpack this together and take a powerful step toward positive action. So we're going to have a few seconds for you to think about it, and please share your thoughts, ideas, or questions in the comments below. Okay, key topics: exploring psychological, professional, and spiritual damage. Before getting into the details, so please have some time to reflect on the concept or the definition that I have for a toxic work environment, and what is it that I have done to adapt myself, to improve myself living in that type of environment. So according to Harvard Business Review, or Journal of Organizational Behavior, a toxic work environment is a workplace characterized by harmful dynamics causing stress, anxiety, demotivation, and personal or professional conflicts. So as you can see, all of the words combined here in this definition are negative. Okay, and we would like to share some examples that are trending right now in some companies, not only in Latin America, but also within the US, Canada, Europe, and Africa too. Okay, and don't forget about Asia, because Asia is living this too. Okay, so the examples are: number 1, discrepancy between corporate values, mission, vision, principles, and the actions of leaders and teams. So it's really important for us to identify when we're in a toxic work environment that does not do what they preach. It's really critical for us to identify those things so we can be aware of, and also the actions that I'm going to be taking moving forward to see myself in a different situation. Number 2, ineffective or manipulative communication. So I assume that we have all lived this one, because manipulative communication has been something that we have faced throughout the years, and is increasing for the past 15 years within companies, especially in the fintech and BPO industry. Number 3, we have implicit policies of censorship, favoritism, or intimidation. It's very sad that we have this nowadays. If we go back to previous date previous information from companies in the 50s and the 60s where they had to deal with racial discrimination and all of that, but still we're facing this in a different way in which people feel intimidated by their superiors. And last but not least, we consider it the most important ones of all of them. And it is important for organizations to create an environment where employees are encouraged to support social causes such as BIPOC, neurodiverse disability, LGBTQ+, and other important communities. However, pressure from upper management should be avoided as it can undermine personal values, beliefs, and preferences. Employees should feel empowered to engage in these causes at their own pace and according to their comfort level, without fear of coercion, judgment, or even getting fired. This approach fosters a respectful and inclusive culture that values individuals' autonomy while still promoting meaningful social change. Wow, this is very, very important. And we have a description of this particular one because we have experienced ourselves this type of situations as professionals in the past 15 years, right? So we consider important for us to highlight it so we can reinforce on this particular matter. Now, let's review the impact on employees from three different perspectives. The first one will be psychological. Okay, so psychologically speaking, anxiety, chronic stress, and burnout syndrome are the most common ones. So employees working in toxic environments often experience a heightened state of alertness, constant worry, or mental exhaustion due to unrelenting pressures or hostility. These conditions may lead to severe emotional and physical fatigue, impairing their ability to perform and cope effectively. So this is so critical, and it's so sad too because fatigue is really critical. When you're burned out because your workload is not balanced, you will feel this way, right? So you feel psychologically stressed, and the anxiety that you have to complete tasks is driving you crazy actually. So at number two, we have low self-esteem and loss of self-confidence. Wow, that sounds very strong. So regular criticism, lack of recognition, or bullying can erode an employee's beliefs in their capabilities. Over time, this diminished self-worth can inhibit personal and professional growth. So this is connected to the first one, right? When I feel this stress and I don't feel that my workload is the appropriate one, I'm gonna be feeling, or I'm going to be having low self-esteem and low self-confidence of completing my task on a day-to-day basis. And last but not least, this is going to cause me a depression. So depression and feelings of helplessness, right? So prolonged exposure to negativity and dysfunctional dynamics can foster a sense of hopelessness, leaving employees feeling trapped and emotionally drained. This may lead to clinical depression or other mental health challenges. So if you're feeling that way right now, we encourage you to look for professional help because this is not right, okay? And one of the intentions of this workshop is for you to raise awareness of your current situation in November 2024 and facing this situation in January 2025. Okay, so professionally speaking, this is not the exception because it causes difficulty advances or developing in one's career. What does that mean? So that means that a lack of mentorship, support, or opportunities for growth in toxic settings prevents employees from acquiring new skills or climbing the career ladder, leaving them feeling undervalued and stagnant. So I don't know about you guys, but I have felt myself this way, and unfortunately, in those circumstances, have driven me to leave the company in a certain way. So even though the product or the role that you have at the moment, it's something that you relate to, that you're passionate about. It's important to you to create a balance or establish a balance, or your mental health versus the environment that you have at the moment. So I encourage you to start thinking about that too. Number two, fear of expressing ideas or innovating. Wow, this is so important too, and it's critical as well. In environments where retaliation, criticism, or dismissal of ideas is common, employees often suppress creativity and innovation, fearing repercussions or further alienation. So it's something that is affecting our Latin American countries for the past 15 years, especially in Central America. So we have lived this ourselves. So we have to establish a sense of awareness so we can, start doing things that are going to be helpful for our health, well-being, and also for our mental health too. During the workshop, I'm going to be working or sharing information that you might think or might be feeling, or something that is going to be engaged with you, so you can have this as a tool for preventing this type of situation. Okay. And last but not least, a stagnation in unsatisfying roles. What does that mean? So that means that toxicity in the workplace often forces employees into survival mode. Wow, I'm going to read it again. Survival mode. It's something that we used to have in the past, right? But now in 2024, 2025, we're still living this, where they remain in roles they dislike simply to avoid conflict, causing professional discontentment and loss of ambition. So how is that possible, guys? Leave your comment if you're living this right now. And what are the steps that you've been considering to move on? Because this is not right. If you're in a position where you don't feel identified, how is that possible you can continue to do this role or to perform in this role if you're not passionate about? Just to avoid conflicts? So is that fair for you? You consider that this is something that you're looking for as a professional? So I leave those questions to you. And last but not least, we have spiritually speaking. Okay, from the spiritual perspective, ethical conflicts and loss of connection with personal values. This is one of them. Toxic workplaces may pressure employees to compromise their principles, leading to inner turmoil of a sense of betrayal toward their core beliefs. This is very, very important and sensitive too, because sometimes we're being forced to do things that we're not engaged with, we're not associated with, and we're not feeling comfortable doing it. And we have to do it because the company is asking you to do so. Feelings of betrayal toward one's life purpose is another one. So working in an environment that contradicts an individual's goals or ideals can create a disconnect between their work and their professional mission, leading to profound dissatisfaction and regret. So if you're going through this particular situation right now, I encourage you to think twice to see what are the options that you have and start building your own portfolio or your own resume to escape from this situation. Not from the place itself, but from the situation itself. There are different places all around the world are experiencing this issue, right? And last but not least, alienation and emotional disconnection. Toxic cultures often alienate employees from their colleagues, purpose, or even themselves, fostering a deep sense of isolation and a loss of joy in both personal and professional realms. So if you have lived this, please leave your comment below so we can share for future references. Okay, so let's move on within the workshop. And now it's time for us to talk a little bit about the role of malicious leaders in companies around the world. So we're going to be covering a little bit of it and three different perspectives. Okay, so the overview of it is that malicious leadership arises when individuals in power prioritize their self-interest over welfare of their teams or organizations. These leaders often use unethical methods to maintain control, suppress dissent, and manipulate their subordinates. Their behaviors can have the devastating effects on employee morale, productivity, and the overall organizational culture. So let's review some of their tactics ourselves so we can avoid this and we can escape from these situations. So the first one is control strategies. What is the definition of control strategy? So, malicious leaders closely monitor employees' social media comments or interactions to seek out perceived signs of disloyalty or dissent. Wow, I can't believe that. So, some companies around the world are monitoring social media from employees to make sure that they're not, placing a comment that is going to disassociate the company's values or the company's actions at the moment, right? So this should not be happening at this moment. But anyway, the tactics that are used on this particular strategy are monitoring of personal and professional platforms under the guise of maintaining corporate image, documenting employees' activities to identify potential dissenters or critics, and publicly addressing or punishing individuals who express differing views to severe to serve my bad to serve as a warning to others. So this is something that I have lived myself. The three of them actually I have lived myself, and it's critical because they go into their personal living, their personal life, and you feel intimidated. You feel that you're being viewed by someone else, and you prevent and you limit yourself to public things on social media just because they're monitoring. It is so sad. I don't know if that happened to you as well. I'm always encouraging you to leave a comment if that is your case too. What is the impact of this situation? So this creates a culture of paranoia where employees feel they must censor themselves to avoid negative repercussions. Trust between employees and leadership is eroded, stifling open communication and innovation. So everything is a mess here, right? So this should not be happening, especially nowadays. But anyway, it is happening. Okay. Another tactic is a tactic of fear or fear tactic, right? What is the definition of fear tactics? Definition: malicious leaders employed unjust disciplinary measures or threats to silence criticism and discourage accountability. What are those, you might be wondering? So, issuing unwarranted warnings, demotions, or even terminations without evidence or due process. I'm going to read it again because you might be feeling identified with this. Issuing unwarranted warnings, demotions, or even terminations without evidence or due process. Wow, this is happening right now. I can tell you that. And I have a couple of examples of this. Number 3, using arbitrary enforcement of rules to target individuals. And last but not least, public shaming or humiliation as a form of deterrence. It is so sad that nowadays companies, especially multinational companies nowadays in the fintech industry and in financial industry, BPO industry in general, are facing these challenges, and they're concentrating their efforts on reinforcing trust because they feel that their management is not delivering what they're supposed to, right? And what is the impact of fear tactics? The impact of this is that this fosters an environment of fear where employees become disengaged and focus solely on avoiding punishment rather than performing effectively. It undermines confidence in leadership and reduces loyalty to the organization. And what does that mean? If the organization is being targeted as a company that is not retaining their employees, and the attrition of the attrition rate of that company, it's going up, that means that there's something wrong within the actual organization, that values and philosophy, vision and mission are not going on the right direction, right? That might be happening. Okay, so and what about the emotional manipulation? This is another one. So this is one of them too. And definition of this is malicious leaders cultivate uncertainty and insecurity to keep employees complain and dependent. So how do they do that? So making ambiguous or conflicting statements about job roles, expectations, or security is one of them, implying that organizational changes or poor financial performance could result in layoffs, regardless of actual circumstances. Exploring personal vulnerabilities or workplace relationships to maintain control is another one. So, as you can see, the three of them are related to actually manipulating all of a system and also the mentality of the employee itself, which is not good. This is not healthy for the employee and the professional environment either. What is the impact of this? So, such manipulation leads to chronic stress, reduced mental well being, and a decrease in job satisfaction. So, let's make a pause here. Well, let's pause here. Um, People talked about job satisfaction, and companies all around the world have their focus on customer satisfaction or CSAT, you can say, right? But they're not concentrated their efforts primarily on their employees, who are the first phase of the industry, right? Because if you're an employee that is feeling happy at the moment about the or let's talk a little about the happiness advantage thing. So the theory that we shared with you in the workshop number 2 about Dr. Shawana Enkward, it's about being happy to perform the best way possible. But if I'm not happy and I'm being manipulated and I'm going through all of this hardship, so that may affect not only myself, but also my team and the entire company as well. Okay, so why it matters? So you might be asking, so why is this workshop about, and what is the intention of it? So what are we doing this to complete this study here, or this overview? So there are three things that I would like to share with you that highlight the importance of this topic. So high turnover rates. So toxic leadership often foster a workplace atmosphere that feels unwelcoming, stressful, or demeaning. Employees subjected to such environments are more likely to resign, seeking healthier and more supportive work conditions. The constant need to replace staff can lead to increased recruitment and training costs, disrupting these companies' overall productivity and stability. So basically, companies that are preaching what they are not doing in practice, right? They're not practice what they're preaching, are increasing their costs in retaining people and recruiting people as well. So it doesn't make any sense to have or to be recruiting people if you're not doing the right thing, followed up by your mission, vision, and values. So you will go through that circle over and over again, because your main issue here is your employees. If they feel satisfied, if they feel comfortable doing what they're doing, so you will need to be recruiting on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis. So you should be looking forward from internal promotions instead of hiring people externally. But this is just something that we would like to highlight, or we would like to reflect on to you guys. Number 2, damage to company's reputation. And this is for the company's perspective, right? From the business perspective, more importantly, so we can highlight what happened when we have a toxic work environment that is damaging not only my employees, but my image within the country where the company is operating, and also around the world, because these are global companies. Damage the company's reputation. So employees, clients, and stakeholders often share their experiences, whether positive or negative. Toxic platforms like the ones that we have shared in the past, or that we have lived in the past ourselves, are the ones that are causing this particular distress. And reputation has been it's not the same anymore, right? It's been decreased. The satisfaction of this is not on a point where we can say, hey, listen, I would like to join that company. So this is not the case. And last but not least, we have poor team cohesion and performance. Teams led by toxic leaders often experience a lack of trust, collaboration, and mutual respect. Such environments stifle creativity, open communication, and problem solving abilities. This results in low morale, reduced productivity, and an inability to achieve organizational goals effectively. So, all of this, as you can see here, is negative. There's no such a thing that you can say, hey, listen, I have this particular item which is positive. So, when we have a toxic environment, everything, guys, anything is negative, right? So there's something here, there's a red flag in this situation that we have to take care of, and we need to do it as soon as possible. Okay, so learning activity. Our learning activity for today will be, it's titled actually Guided Group Reflection. What is the objective of this activity? Since we have covered a little bit of everything when it comes to a toxic work environment, so the objective is that you will recognize signs of workplace toxicity in your current environment so you can reflect of them, right? The first step will be to overcoming a toxic work environment, and is recognizing it, right? So you need to identify, you have to raise self awareness of this. So together, let's explore how these dynamics manifest and impact our daily lives. So the question will be, what signs of a toxic work environment have you experienced or witnessed in your current or past job? Please share your experience with a comment below. These experiences are more common than we think, but recognizing them is already a step forward to change. Let's continue to reflect on how to safeguard ourselves, our self well-being in such situations. We strongly believe that this is the most important one part of a workshop, okay? Because this is going to give you some insights on what to do or what to think. What are the steps you have to follow up on when it comes to experiencing this situation, which is negative, right? We all know that going through this hardship is really critical. So, at number one, we have acknowledging the reality of the environment. So, you have to be self-conscious of what you're living right now. If you're not self-conscious, or if you're not self-aware of the situation, and you limit yourself or you block yourself from admitting that this is not right, you might not go through, or you might not go out of a situation, or you might not be able to alleviate the sentiment that you have at the moment, and more importantly, you won't be able to escape from the situation. So you have to recognize the signs, and to that you have to identify the toxic aspects of a workplace, such as lack of transparency, pressure to comfort, or unhealthy competition, or unsupported leadership as well. Acknowledging these issues is the first step in dealing with them effectively. Okay, so this is the first step: admitting, recognizing, okay, acknowledging. Then we have reflect on values. You have to understand your personal values, beliefs, and boundaries. This clarity will guide your actions and decisions, ensuring you do not compromise your integrity for the sake of fitting in it, right? For the sake of being part of something that is not right for you, okay? That was number one. Number two, set boundaries. Communicate your limits. You have to do so. Politely but assertively express your personal boundaries when it comes to participating in activities or advocating for social causes, especially if you feel pressure from management. You can explain that while you support inclusivity and social justice, you wish to encourage at a pace and level that aligns with your personal comfort. Okay? So you have to have that in mind, and don't feel afraid of saying it out loud and saying it to your superiors, to your direct reports. You have to know your rights too, because if you don't know them, you will have a hard time. So you have to understand your rights as an employee, particularly in relation to social advocacy and diversity initiatives, right? Companies should respect your autonomy and ensure that our participation is voluntary, not coerced. So you're not forced to take part of that if you don't want to. You have to know that. Okay, so don't feel bad about it. And number three, we have embraced the positive aspects of a company's culture. So if we talked about a toxic work environment, we said that everything or most of it is negative, right? But also there are some aspects that might be positive. So you have to concentrate, you have to focus on those aspects. So focus on the alignment that you have with this culture. So identify and focus on the areas where the company's values align with yours. Look for opportunities when you can engage meaningfully without feeling pressured, such as supporting BIPOC, neurodiverse, disability, or LGBTQ plus communities in ways that match your comfort level. So you don't feel pressured or don't feel that you're being forced to do so. If you're not feeling engage with this, you simply go to your leader and you talk to them about it. Okay, so it's not bad or it's not wrong to say I don't feel comfortable. So every single human being in this world has a right to point that out. Number four, raise concerns constructively. Okay, on this particular one, you have to address toxicity with your leadership, as I pointed out before. So you have to address the situation with your superior, with your direct report. If you feel the company is not living up to its cultural values, raise your concerns constructively. Provide feedback in a way that focuses on how these issues undermine employee morale and productivity. Focus on finding solutions rather than just pointing out problems. It's really important. So have a positive mind when it comes to these particular conversations, okay? And last but not least, evaluate your long-term fit and pay close attention to this because this is really important and it's critical as well, okay? So you have to assess cultural misalignment. Over time, evaluate whether the company's value aligns with your personal values too. If a toxic environment becomes unbearable, and if leadership refuses to address the issue, consider whether staying at the company is sustainable for your career and personal well-being. In a few words, if you're not feeling comfortable, and if you feel that this is not for you and you're here just because you might be reconsidering your situation and you might speak out and say, hey, listen, I need to leave. Okay, so that's my recommendation for you. Okay, so we also have an action plan for you guys to take into consideration, and the action plan has three different components. The first one is establishing your personal commitment. So it's really important for you to establish this because if you prioritize your well-being by committing to yourself, toxic work environments may challenge you, but you control your actions and mental health. Write a personal statement to remind yourself that you're here to thrive, not just survive, okay? So keep that in mind. Number two, identifying an immediate action. Identify what's affecting you, workload, and colleagues' behavior or lack of support, and take one small, actionable step today to break the cycle of negativity. Focus on what you can control to regain empowerment. It's really important. And last but not least, long-term strategy and reflection. Focus on sustainability to setting clear boundaries, reflecting on your progress. You're building a support system to create a thriving, balanced environment long term. So those are the three main recommendations that we wanted to share with you guys, so you can have them as a point of reference or as a reference. Okay. Okay, so we have a motivational closing before we say goodbye, and this is about your worth. Okay, this is an inspirational message that I designed for all of you guys so you can feel identified. Your worth as a professional and individual goes beyond job titles or challenging circumstances. In our fast-paced, customer-focused fintech environment, remember to prioritize your well-being. Seek out supporting communities aligned with your values and embrace opportunities that empower your growth and innovation. So this is basically it, right? Your worth is what matters. As a conclusion for this workshop, we have the following. Embracing a toxic work environment can be challenging, but by setting boundaries, engaging with causes on your terms, and seeking support from like minded colleagues, you can navigate the situation without compromising your integrity. It's essential to prioritize your values and mental well being, and if needed, explore new opportunities that align better with your personal and professional goals. Before we close, I want to leave this with you. You are stronger than you think, and change starts with you. Take what we have talked about today and create your own action plan. No more waiting, no more doubting. You've got this. Let's go out there and build the kind of work life that supports who we truly are. And that's a wrap up for today's episode. I hope you found something valuable to take away. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or suggestions for future topics you would like us to cover. Your feedback helps shape this channel, and together we can keep growing and learning. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. And don't forget, we've got to be motivated to motivate others.